All right, guys. So here's another example of data masking functions, right? So if you look at the app here on the right, it looks very similar to the one that we already seen. So the app allows a user to choose a variable to filter and then a minimum value, but instead of a numeric input, we're using a slider input function. And another input we're adding here is a variable to sort by. All right, so we have another select input function, and then table output. All right, so the other thing about this app is we want this slider input function to update depending on what variable user selects, the first variable to filter, right? All right, so let's do this. So we're going to build upon the app that we had earlier. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and we're going to open app 12.1, and we're going to build on this app here. So again, the first variable to filter is the same. The minimum value here is slider input instead of numeric input. So here, slider input. So slider input, let's check the cheat sheet. So we have slider input here. Input ID, label, minimum, max, and value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the mandatory arguments, right? So let's say minimum, maximum 100, and the initial value, let's say 1. Okay, and we also need a variable to sort by, right? So that will be another select input function. So let's say sort for input ID, sort by for the label, and the choices will be names of, oh, so instead of diamonds, we're using empty cars data set. So diamonds, it should be empty cars. Is it cars? Is it plural? Yes. And the same here, empty cars. The same here, empty cars, right? And we need a comma here, right? And then we can run app. All right, so we have a variable to filter, and then minimum value, and variable to sort by. Now, again, the problem, I'm sorry. So the issue here is every variable here has different range, right? So ideally, this slider input should update depending on what variable the user chooses to filter, right? So we can do that using observe event function. Observe event because updating this slider input function does not affect the output, so it shouldn't go into render functions, right? So, all right, we're going to close this app, and we're going to put observe event function to update the slider input function. So observe event. So observe event expression, which is the variable to filter, so var, right? So we're going to start with that, and then handler expression. Okay, so input var, comma, and then handler expression in curly bracket. So here we are going to use update slider input function. So update slider input function. Now, update slider input function, you can see that we have arguments, the session, the default value is given, input ID. So we need to provide input ID for the slider input function, so which is min, right? And we need to provide the values for the arguments that we want to update. So here we have min, max, and value. So min, max, and value. So that those are the arguments that we want to update, right? So input ID, will be min, again, because that is the input ID for the slider input function there. And we want to update min, max, and value. Okay, now these we need to define. So the way we're going to do is we're going to create this RNG object, and that will be range. We're going to use range function to get minimum and maximum of um, empty cars, double bracket, input var. So whatever the variable that the user chooses to filter, right, we are going to take the range of that. Okay, so if we were to, so let's try this here, range of empty cars of, let's say, what are the, so data, empty cars, what are the variables in empty cars? So here, these are the variables, right? So RNG, range, and empty cars, double bracket, and say MPG, for example, MPG, right? Then what does this look like, RNG? Yeah, so it's a vector of two numeric values, and 10.4 is the minimum, and 33.9 is the maximum, right? That is what we're defining here, RNG, range, right? So again, instead of MPG, if we were to put a cylinder, then RNG will be 4 and 8, all right? So depending on what variable the user chooses, this minimum and maximum value updates, and that's what we're doing. So in order to select the minimum RNG, we get 1, right? Or maximum, the second element, right? So we can use this double bracket. So here, that's exactly what we're going to do. RNG, double bracket, 1, RNG, double bracket, 2, RNG, the initial value, let's put it at minimum, right? So, all right. Oh, so we also need to add, modify this to arrange the table, right? So let's cut this because we're going to run more than one line of code. Let's add curly bracket, hit enter. Let's paste it back here. So I'm going to take this out so that we can use the pipe operator and empty cars, right, to filter, and then we arrange, right? So input, sort. All right, now this, yeah, we need to fix this because we built upon the code that we used to demonstrate the problem of indirection, right? So in order to make this code, Shiny doesn't understand, right? So we need to put this in double bracket and dot data to make it clear to Shiny that this is a data variable, right? Remember that? The same here for arrange function, another example of data masking functions, right? So I think it's ready, right? So now data became reactive value, right? So let's run it. Okay. So now let's change the variable to filter to cylinder. Now minimum and maximum has changed to 4 and 8, right? So let's move this. Now let's check the cylinder. Yeah, it's all 8-cylinder cars, right? Can we move one up? So there's no 8-cylinder cars? No, so it's greater than minimum. So that's why, right? And sort by, this is sorted by MPG currently. Sort by, let's say, horsepower. There you go. Right. So again, this app um, updates depending on the variable that, I mean, updates the slider input depending on the variable the user chooses to filter. All right. Great job, guys. I'll see you in the next video.